Welcome to the weekly rundown. We're going to start by discussing the wide receivers in this section. I'm going to start with Jarvis Landry of the Miami Dolphins. He's caught at least five passes in 5 of 7 games so far this season. And one of the others was a three reception, 42-yard day, but he scored a rushing touchdown. So he's been incredibly consistent. I mean, 10.9 fantasy points has been his floor this year, and that came against Darrelle Revis in the New York Jets, where not very many receivers have had any success against them. What I love is he can be a pretty solid contributor, and he only costs you 13,200, as opposed to, you look at the Antonio Browns of the world and the guys that catch a lot of passes, and they'll be about 2,000 more. So Jarvis Landry, a bargain this week. That's who I'm going with. London, who do you like at the receiver position?
I'm going with the guy who did have some success against the Darrelle Revis and the New York Jets. I'm going with two guys, the Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You mentioned, in the other segment, we talked about you liking Blake Bortles. Well, Blake Bortles is going to be throwing to these two guys, Hurns and Robinson. You look at the Baltimore Ravens defense. I think they've given up 31 fantasy points per game to opposing wideouts. I imagine there's going to be a lot more going against these two guys for Jacksonville because they are the real deal. Blake Bortles is playing a lot better football. So Allen Robinson, I like him. He went for over 100 yards against the Jets, and Hearns went for over 100 yards against the Jets, scored a touchdown. So those guys are two plays at the wide receiver position for me.
Yeah, I was looking at lineups this week, and Allen Robinson was the first guy I locked into lineups. I actually got a question this week. Who would you like for the rest of the season, Des Bryant or Allen Robinson? And I pretty quickly answered Allen Robinson. That I think he's the guy there, and he actually, yeah, I think he's a solid wide receiver one moving forward. He seems to have found his niche. Let's go to the tight ends now. I'm going to go spend up, but not spend Gronkowski up, who I do think is a viable option. I'm going Greg Olsen of the Panthers. The Titans have been tough to pass on, but where they've been vulnerable is to the tight ends. They allow the seventh most fantasy points to the tight ends. And guess what? Newton hasn't been great throwing the ball, but there's one guy he's consistently targeted, and that is his tight end. The matchup just seems to line up perfectly. The stars have aligned for both. I think Greg Olsen has a big day and probably finds the end zone. Who do you like?
I got one where price meets production. Well, actually, price does not even come up to the production level when you think about Jordan Reed going against the New Orleans Saints, man. I talk about the Saints defense in the other segment, 24 touchdown passes allowed. With Jordan Reed, you mentioned paying up for Greg Olsen. Well, with Reed, you don't have to pay up, $8,800. And you think about over the last two ball games, 3 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins is going to go to him. They're going to look at the Saints defense. The Saints have nobody. They don't have a guy that can cover them. Not a corner, not a safety, not a linebacker. Reed is a matchup problem. I look at the Redskins. I figure they'll produce a lot of yardage and points against the Saints, and Jordan Reed will be a big factor in that game.
Yeah, this is why we love fantasy football. Is Jordan Reed had absolutely nothing last week, but you sit there, you're watching a game where they're getting blown out. And I think it was the last play of the game. Jordan Reed scores a garbage touchdown, and fantasy owners rejoice. All of a sudden, it's a usable day when he done nothing. So that's why we love fantasy football. Let's move on to the defense. This is kind of your niche, so I'll just go with a little bit. Carolina Panthers, I like. Marcus Mariota's looked really good, but basically he's a rookie is what I'm betting on here. And Carolina's been really good. Titans are only projected to score 19 and a half points. And when I look at defenses, I like to see, teams below 20. So they have not a lot of upside. Carolina's tied for the league lead with 13 interceptions. They're 25 sacks, ranked fourth. And Josh Norman's going to completely shut down whoever he guards. So they seem safe to me. Who do you like?
I like the Denver Broncos at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. You think about Denver coming off a loss against the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. Their defense didn't play as well as they had in the past. As they didn't live up to the billing as the number one ranked defense. But going back home, getting the Kansas City Chiefs team that they're struggling at the playmaker position. No Charles, Alex Smith at the quarterback position. He can't really challenge the corners that they have, even with Talib being out. I like I like the Denver Broncos.
There you go. Denver Broncos. Let's get to the questions. I'm actually going to save the best one for last, so I'll ask you this one first. Is anyone else paying up for Rodgers and or Brady this week, but fading, or in other words, not using their tight ends and wide receivers? So I guess it's two questions. Do you like Rodgers and you like Brady, and do you like their pass catchers along with them?
Well, you have to always like Brady, and then you like him even more when you think about the defense he's going against. He's going against the New York Giants defense, and they come up and create a lot of turnovers and things like that, but they give up a ton of yards, man. You look at what Drew Brees did against them, putting up 52 points. So I mean, what's not to like about him? Gronkowski, Edelman. I'm sure it's going to cost you. I don't know if you can fit all those guys in your lineup, but you definitely would look if you're going to go Brady. I would say probably maybe pair Gronkowski with him. As far as it goes with Rodgers, the Detroit Lions defense, man, the whole organization is in total chaos. So starting Rodgers against them would not be a bad thing. The only thing is, I don't know which wide receiver you would pair with him because you think about Randall Cobb, he's kind of been banged up. Maybe you go James Jones, and I don't think he's going to cost you a ton of money if you want to go with James Jones. And he seems to always catch a touchdown.
Yeah, James Jones, I think I was looking at, he's in the 10,000 somewhere, so he's extremely reasonable. The problem with him is you're relying totally on that touchdown. He honestly does not do much besides that, so it is a little tough to figure out. So until next time, I'm Ricky Sanders with the spokesperson for Daily Fantasy, London Fletcher, and we are out.